Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Play Guild Wars 2. This almost was going to be episode 2, what we're about to see. In fact, I did film all of this ages ago now, back after episode 1, and ended up scrapping it just because it didn't seem to be working too well. We are moving over onto our Charr character, as I kind of hinted at the end of the last episode. That was on purpose. It was meant to look glitchy, but it was on purpose. I mean, there's no way that accidentally happened in the rendering. It wasn't supposed to come out so creepy either. I'm sorry if I creeped anyone out. It was just the static noise. I wanted it to look glitchy, so I found a static sound effect, and it ended up really creepy. Like, one of the shots that I cut in was this really kind of scary looking skeletal thing, and it was kind of weird. But in any case, yeah, you can't blame me for trying to do something weird. We're going with the Charr now, as I hinted there. The Charr, so we've got these 5 races. We've seen a bit of the human, don't worry, we've not seen everything of the human, but now we can check out the Charr, which is a nice race to swap to since they've got so much history with the humans. Original Guild Wars players really don't like the Charr necessarily. A lot of them probably have come round by this point, but the Charr were the original enemies of you, the player in Guild Wars 1. They're like the original villain, and now they're playable come Guild Wars 2. So we ignore these other guys for now because they're all kind of new in some regard, but these two, yeah, this is where it's at. So the Charr race was forged in the merciless crucible of war. It's all they know. War defines them, and their quest for dominion drives them ever onward. The weakling and the fool have no place among the Charr. Victory is all that matters, and it must be achieved by any means and at any cost. Never forget this paragraph. Never forget it, because you get loads of people who are like, oh, what would happen once we've killed all the Elder Dragons? What would happen after the plot of Guild Wars 2? And there are so many Charr players that are out there that think, oh, everyone would just continue to live in peace. No, the Charr would get bored, they would grow restless, and they would attack everyone else, right? They're only on they're only in allegiance with all these other 4 races right now because they have to be. I promise you that they would attack as soon as circumstances change. So never forget that anyway. So we are the Charr. There's a reason why they were the villains of Guild Wars 1. Male and female. We're going to go with male just because we did a male human. I was toying, though, with going... female human, sorry. I was toying with going with a male human but a female Charr just because I love the design of female Charr. This is a perfect example of how to do a female character for a fantasy race in your game or in any medium at all. They didn't just basically put makeup on it and give it nice tits and say, there you go, it's a girl. They didn't do that at all. They did a really interesting, nice design for the female Charr. They gave them a different tail, completely different proportions, the way they move. You can just tell that the females look really, really good and distinct, but also genuinely feminine. But we're going to go with a male, particularly for the kind of character I'm going for here, which is going to be a very generic character. We got professions once again. Last time we picked a ranger. There are 8 to choose from, which means that 3 of these we won't be seeing in the Let's Play since we're going to have 5 characters, but we will be seeing a warrior for this character. Yes, you can probably tell what I'm going for this Charr at this point. We're going to be playing as a Charr warrior. Warrior is a class I've played before. I played a fair bit of the betas as a warrior Charr, come to think of it, so this should be pretty similar for me. So you won't see me faffing about with skills so much here, but I haven't played one at live, so there might have been changes or whatever. We got all the kind of looks and stuff. I did decide on a general look that I quite was reasonably happy with yesterday, so I'll try and recreate that as best I can and catch up with you guys again on the next page once we're done there, since again I don't want to waste everyone's time. I think I went with... Should we just make like a massive Charr? I don't know where I can bear to. Yeah. Or, no, let's make a tiny Charr. That'd be cool. A tiny Charr warrior. Yeah. I like it. Alright, that's good for me. I've made him really small, so he's a pretty generic looking Charr. For my main account, for my normal account right now, I'm playing a Charr, not a Charr warrior, but I've got a Charr, and I've made it look really old, and I was tempted to do that for the Let's Play as well, but I don't kind of want to do carbon copies of all of my normal characters for the Let's Play, so we'll make him look old-ish, but only because of his fur colour. But I've made him as small as he can possibly be. So this guy is going to be a brutal Charr warrior that is also quite small. So that should be quite fun to see. Slightly unique, at least. Alright, so now we get the biography section, as we did before, but there will be completely different questions here this time, because we're a different profession, which is what this question is asking us about. I wear a blank on the battlefield. Because of this, I'm recognised and given proper respect. And we can say we wear a spangle helm, a cap helm, or no helm at all. I like to go with no helm at all here, particularly on the Charr, because when you put on a helm, it just... I don't know, it just kind of annoys me when you're wearing a helmet, especially on races like this, the Charr in particular, especially because some of the hairstyles and stuff, I don't know, you just spend so long, or you can spend so long making the face look so nice, and then you just cover a lot of it up, and well, on a lot of races I don't mind doing that kind of thing. As you've seen on the Ranger, we're wearing this mask all the time, we're covering our face, but particularly for the Charr, let's go with no helmet at all, and as you can see, it's actually filled in shoulders at the same time, so there's that at least. A true warrior doesn't need a helm. My enemies will cringe and falter when they see the fearless determination on my face. Hell yeah, they will. Trouble may follow me, but I use my ferocity to overcome it. Oh yes, I'm ferocious. Threatening violence gets me further than anything else. I'm a natural, though I do try to use my powers of intimidation for good. Okay, and now we get some more interesting questions. These are to do with the race we chose. So, because we picked a Charr, we get a choice of a Legion. So, I am proud to be Blood Legion, Ash Legion, or Iron Legion. We're going to learn a lot about the Charr as we go forward, but essentially the Charr as a whole, as a race, they exist under organizational umbrellas that act as war machines, essentially, and they're called the Legions. In the first game there were 4 Legions, but for the second game there are 3 that we can choose to be a part of, and the 4th one we can't choose to be a part of for very good reasons that we can't be the 4th one, and we'll see that as we go through on the story. Each Legion is quite distinct from one another. The Blood Legion, we can say I'm Blood Legion, I charge straight into battle. The Blood Legion pushes on the front line in any combat. We're powerful and bold, and none can match our prowess on the field. So pretty standard. These are the actual warrior guys. We can go Ash Legion. I'm Ash Legion. I use cunning to overcome my enemies. The Ash Legion teaches stealth and subterfuge. We end battles before they begin with infiltration, information gathering, and precision strikes. So these guys, kind of, you can sometimes map these up to what you see in the other races. So here, for example, you could kind of say, okay, these are the Seraph, these are the Shining Blade, and these must be the Ministry Guard. But it doesn't quite match like that, and I would encourage people not to think that way, because in particular, the last Legion here is Iron Legion. I am Iron Legion. I march to the boom of war machines. The Iron Legion has ignited our industrial revolution. We perfected metalwork, cannons, and most importantly, guns. As a warrior, we'll be able to equip guns here, so this should be good. At the launch of Guild Wars 2, where we're going to be playing for this entirety of the LP on this Charr character, we're going to be in the Iron Legion lands. This is where the Iron Legion call home. So no matter what Legion we pick, we'll always be in amongst a lot of Iron Legion Charr, though we can choose to belong to one of the other Legions, which are likely to become accessible to us as expansions arrive for Guild Wars 2, so that should be interesting. There's nothing stopping you from playing as these other Legions should you wish, and indeed I am going to play one of the other Legions. In my own time, I've played an Ash Legion character, so I know a lot about that story and can compare it, and I've decided we're going to be going with Blood Legion here. Iron Legion would kind of make sense since we're going to be in the Iron Legion homeland, and I could have played even more to type here. I could have created an engineer Charr profession that then is a part of the Iron Legion, and that's kind of the most typical Charr I guess you can get. But a big part of being a Charr is being a war machine, being someone that goes in there and fights and is brutal, and a Charr warrior that's a member of the Blood Legion fits pretty well. So once again, we push to the front line in any combat. We're powerful and bold, and none can match our prowess on the field. And now we get another question. I would die for my warband, especially who my sparring partner. We actually get a decision here of 5 different Charr here. Do you remember when we were playing as a human, we had this choice of God, and I said it actually made no difference whatsoever? The Charr are, as far as I can see, the one race in the game that all 3 questions actually make a difference, and it's amazing. So this is the equivalent of our God question this time, and it will actually do something. So we have all these different characters we can choose from, and you can read their biographies. I'm not interested in reading them all out, since honestly it's not too important for the amount of time we'd spend doing it. Rather, we're just going to go with Reeva, who I think is probably the best character. Reeva fights hard and plays hard. Nothing gets her down. She always jokes that her best weapons are her engineering tools and a sharp sense of humour. To Reeva, life isn't worth much if it isn't fun. So we're going to go with Reeva. I could be even more two-type and go with someone like Maverick, who's like this other brute, a bit like us, but hey, Reeva's more interesting, I think. So we'll go with that. And our last question, they tell me the soldier that sired me is A. So do you remember as a human, we got to decide whether we were going to look at our sister or whether we were going to look at our parents? Well, this is the equivalent here as a Charr. So we get to choose between a loyal soldier. I've heard my sire's name spoken with reverence ever since I was a cub in the Farrar. I plan to live up to his reputation, or exceed it. We can go with a sorceress shaman. Flame Legion shamans once enslaved us. Because of this, my father, who is a shaman, is treated with suspicion and mistrust. I must overcome his reputation. Or, last of all, an honorless gladium. A gladium has no warband. My father turned his back on his. Now he's an honorless gladium with no respect for the chain of command, and I have no respect for him. Now, I've seen the gladium one, and this is a pretty good story. I've got to say, I quite like this. But for purposes of lore and more interesting stuff and teach us more, I think we're going to go with a sorceress shaman. So this is to do with that other legion we couldn't pick before, and there's a lot of interesting stuff we can do there. So we'll go with this, a sorceress shaman. That should be interesting for me too, because I don't actually know too much about that path. And there we go, we're done. Though trouble may follow me, I overcome it with ferocity. I'm a soldier in the Blood Legion, and my warband is my family. I would die for them, especially Reeva, my sparring partner. They tell me my sire is a sorceress shaman. I must overcome his reputation, whatever it takes. I'm a warrior, and I wear no helm on the battlefield. Because of this, my enemies falter when they see the fearless determination in my eyes. This is my story. Signed, Chaos Blacksoot. There we go. So that's our character. Now that name isn't necessarily the same as my human names, but I did want to shake it up a little bit since we're Charr, and I'll talk about the naming conventions later.
In this world of constant battle, I am the deadliest weapon of all. I respect no authority but the clenched fist of my legion. With engines of destruction, we have killed our gods. We reclaimed our homeland of Ascalon, and we planted victory banners on the graves of our enemies. Yet, if we waver, it could slip through our claws. Victory, at any cost. The Blood Legion is my mother. The Blood Legion is my father. We Charr are born into battle. We live on the fields of war. And I will die fighting. I'm a soldier, a ground pounder, frontline infantry. I face the enemy head on. I've earned the respect of my comrades and forged alliances I can call on in time of need. In the Blood Legion, we're taught the meaning of the word duty. We are relentless. Today, the soldiers of the Black Citadel assault the ghosts that plague this land. I've been assigned to reinforce the bulwark. Let the Ash Legion strike from the shadows. Let the Iron Legion build its machines of war. I will not stop fighting until the only thing left standing on the field of battle is me. This is my story.
Okay, and I'm back. Sorry about that. The door went while the cutscene was going. So there you go. That's a bit of a taster of the intro cutscene there. You may have noticed what I quite like about that intro is the fact that you can quite clearly see all of the Charr that are fighting in it. Who are they killing? They're killing humans. So they're definitely referencing there that this is who they were born to fight or whatever. And there has been a very long war between the Charr and between the humans for an awful long time. And that's still what I think a lot of the players care about. So I loved to see that there in the intro for the Charr stuff, that they were fighting the humans. I thought that was awesome. But in any case, this is our new character, with a slightly less crappy name than the other characters. Hopefully, I'm sure someone out there will disapprove. But we've got totally new skills, of course, because we're on an entirely different profession. We've got a different, unique profession mechanic. All kinds of new stuff going on. It's like a whole new game. So we'll speak to Legionnaire Tozier Domesplitter here and find out exactly what's going on. Just in time, soldier. The Ghost Army's been bashing that gate for weeks. They've finally broken through. Fight your way to the front and report to Centurion Cry-Snife for orders. For the Legions! Sure, so we've got the objective to fight our way to the front. This, once again, is another tutorial instance. So before, we were obviously out there in Queensdale, and the Centaurs were attacking Shaymore. Well, this time,
over here,
there's a slightly different spin on it in the... Well, I guess, no, maybe it is the same spin. So previously, as a human, we were being fought by Centaurs who were attacking us, and now as a Charr, it's ghosts. and we're kind of fighting. We're given as good as we're getting here. I think on the human version, the Centaurs were kind of overrunning everything, and they were waiting for a hero to save them. Well, here, as you can see, the Charr have got their shit together, and they are fighting tooth and nail to keep the ghosts back. And indeed, this isn't a new fight for the Charrs. For the Charrs? Oh god, I can't believe I just said that. For Charr is Charr, plural, just by the way. This isn't a new fight for the Charr of Ascalon. This is a fight that they've been having to deal with for a very long time, because these ghosts of humans, have been here for many, many years, and they basically won't piss off. And we'll see as we explore through the Charr personal story stuff, and just through the general maps, in particular the capital city here, we'll see some very interesting stuff about the Charr plans to finally rid this land of the Ascalon ghosts.
So I can die fighting.
Alright, sure? You sure you want to die?
I need your help, soldier. Tribune Brimstone has ordered me to the crypt, but I'm too torn up to make it. What's so important that the Blood Legion Tribune is there? The ghost of Duke Beridan is far more powerful than we thought. His army just broke through our defenses. Ritlock's about to fight him head-on. If he succeeds, it'll be weeks before the ghost reforms, and we can rebuild our perimeter. On my way.
Okay, so we just heard there about a Tribune. He's very high up, essentially, in one of the legions. Our legion, Blood Legion. So we kind of report to this guy. He's quite up there, and it would take something quite important.
Scattered.
What did you just say?
Like this. The warband scattered.
So this is our warband here. So it would take something quite important for Ritlock to go, as that guy said. And there is the potential here to break the Ghost Assault. So one really cool thing that I almost, I gotta admit, just forgot about there, is that throughout this tutorial instant, you can speak to a lot of characters that we were asked about in our biography just now. So this is Clawspur. This is one of the people we could have spoken to. Ghost overran us, smashed in most of our mortars. A few are still operational, though, if you feel like shedding some of the blue fiends.
Watch your back.
Yeah, sure, will do. So this is actually our warband here. Warbands are small groups, essentially, of Charr that live together. They grow up together and they die together. They work as a single unit that, and they're kind of like family for Charr. Charr don't grow up and live with their mothers and fathers and go to school and so forth. They go to a place called a Farrar where they're paired up with other Charr, and there they learn to fight in those early years of their life, and they spend the rest of their life with these people. It's kind of like, think like Basic, but your entire life. And the people that you go to Basic with are the people that you'll be fighting with for the rest of your life until either your warband is destroyed or killed or you're sent away somewhere else. Now, a Gladium, which we was asked about before, is someone who abandons their warband, abandons their family, essentially, and begins to exist outside of the structures of traditional Charr command. Everything about Charr society and culture is built around war, and this really ties into that. So we have got some friends here, some other Charr that we've spent our entire life with, and we're out on the battlefield with them. And indeed, you can go and speak to an awful lot of them.
Hey, you! Wake up and get over here!
Surprise for you.
Such as these guys out on the battlefield. So here's Dinky, who says, these ghosts think they can push us around, but I'll kill them twice over. And if they're still not dead, twice over again. And Urael here says, careful out there, me and Dinky will protect you, but you've got to stay close. No can do, I've been ordered to advance, see you after the last ghost falls. So these are our friends, these are our people. And of course, we chose Reeva earlier, and I'm hoping to find her somewhere. She's got to be around here someplace. Also, I'm getting owned. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not used to playing as a warrior for a little while, so we'll get used to it. It's okay, guys. We'll be fine. So Reeva must be around here somewhere. There's some Ash Legion here, so don't forget we're only Blood Legion, so anyone in the Ash Legion isn't going to be a part of our warband because we're a Blood Legion warband. And we got some Iron Legion over there. So those are the three legions. Don't forget, we're in Iron Legion lands at the moment. The Iron Legion are mostly credited with, as it hinted before there, innovation and building things. And you'll see it's so clear that we're in Iron Legion lands once you get to see some of the architecture of the Charr stuff. And the fact we had those cannons and mortars there from earlier, and it really, the whole place just breathes industrialization and so forth. I really want to see Reeva before we progress. There's Dinky. Was Reeva right at the start? I might cut it or speed it up until we can find her. Yes, Dinky's got a surprise. Dinky's pretty cool, actually. Maybe we should have chose that he was our best friend in the warband during character creation. That would have been cool. What about over here? So as with any personal story step, of course, you just saw I got a message there. We can't leave the bounds, and they're quite clearly highlighted on the map. I actually think this is kind of ugly, that you spend so much time in the personal story, and then you look outside, and it's just this horrible kind of red diagonal lines all over the place. Reeva's not there. You also notice this too about the Charr. They have different animations for running around. Technically, I suppose all races and characters in the game have got different animations for running around when they've got a weapon out and so forth. But this is the Charr one. It's very distinct. They kind of run on all fours. Where the hell is Reeva? Maybe she's further down here. And you can actually bind a weapon. I don't know, dare I say it. Here's Maverick. Here's another guy that's a part of our warband. He says, everybody stand clear. I've got my kicking boots and I'm all out of moss gum. So that's a reference there. A pretty obvious one. Mixing your treats is always bad, buddy. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, good buddy. Oh, there. Was that her? There you go. Here's Reeva. Sorry, Reeva, I didn't speak to you earlier. I'm telling you, Chaos, these ghosts would have never breached that gate if we'd been at the front, but we're stuck here back at the butt end of the battle. They say if you cut off the snake's tail, the body dies. That may be, but we'll never know when we have show-offs like Hal charging ahead to the front. Tell him Reeva said that was just plain rude. You can tell him yourself when we see you back here at the butt end. So yeah, the Charr are pretty cool. They're used to battle, they're used to war, and they're kind of optimistic and I don't know, particularly Reeva there was quite aloof, and that's why I think I prefer her as a character. She's quite a fun one, just because of how aloof and jokey she remains throughout most of the stuff that's going on. But at the same time, they are quite serious. Guild Wars has got a bit of a habit of this, in that it makes death and war and stuff very light-hearted with all the way that characters react to it and stuff in the game, when in fact it's quite serious, and it can swing very quickly. It can be, oh, we're in a fight, haha, and then it's like, oh god, somebody's dead. And I see what they're trying to do. That could be an interesting thing, but a lot of the times I think it's just easy to forget. In any case, so we need to get into this crypt.
Forget your orders. No one goes into this crypt unless I command it.
Can I please get in? He says, hold it, soldier. Tribune Brimstone's gone into the crypt. Orders are, we're to make sure no ghosts follow him, which means we don't advance till the last one's a vapor. Our warband's been scattered. I'll go round them up. Hey, anybody who can't keep up gets left behind. Obey my orders, or have you split tip to tail for insubordination. Is that clear, soldier? Okay, so we don't really have a choice to go back for our warband while we wait around. Now, this is something I never showed you in the human stuff, that you can actually be locked out. So imagine if we were back doing the human personal story tutorial instance at this point, this is the moment where we'd be outside of the garrison. When we ran there before, we could just go through the gate, and I did turn around and say, hey, we could have got caught out here if the events weren't pushed in the right way, but we got lucky and got through. Well, on this occasion, the gate is actually shut. So imagine that this is the garrison. There's stuff going on in there, people are having big fights, doing things, and it wouldn't necessarily make sense for players like me to just run in halfway through that, because I would miss a lot of the context, which isn't something ArenaNet ever really do on any other events in the game, but here they do.
I'm holding this tactical position.
Open that gate, or I'll be holding your head. Now! Riplock needs reinforcements.
So there you go. Right, so basically she's come along, told him to piss off, let us in, rightfully so, thank you very much, and we can go in. So now we're allowed in, and the event chain will push from the start. Oh, here's Hal.
You go on. I'll be right behind you.
Sure, I was wondering when you were going to join the party. They told us to kill as many ghosts as we can. You go on ahead, these are mine, gotta love this job. So that's who Reeva told us to go speak to. That's quite funny, actually. He's really far in, he's even through the gate. So we get to come in and fight in here. I love the crypts of Ascalon and stuff, but it is the kind of architecture you get a lot used to. So where we are right now, this isn't actually Charr. This structure isn't built by the Charr. This is human architecture. This is because where we're currently living, the humans were here for a very long time. A very, very long time. Now, they weren't necessarily here first, which I'll get into later, but a lot of what we're going to be seeing is very industrial Charr architecture, mixing in with very traditional human stuff.
We're going to hit Barrett so hard it'll take him weeks to reappear. Move out.
So here's Tribune Brimstone here. Who should have some dialogue for us, just as Logan, if you remember, had dialogue for us before. We'll see when we actually get into the fight.
What do you want?
You want something?
He doesn't seem to, actually. Alright, so never mind that then. But we will be speaking to Ritlock and stuff later on. But yeah, so there's going to be this mix of different places to go. And to tell you the truth, I think for the purposes of map completion at the very least, and just general atmosphere, Ascalon's probably my favourite. All these areas we're going to be seeing on the Charr, it's probably my favourite place, like, in total massive region of the game, honestly. I would put it even ahead of some of the really interesting, crazy, unique places that you get towards the end of the game. So, I really do like it. I'm kind of looking forward to showing off a lot of the interesting stuff. I mean, Kryta had a lot of things, like the Temple of the Ages, like Garenhof, which really are the only two I've shown you so far. Ascalon's got 20 times as many really cool things, if you ask me, than any of the others. But in any case, we kill some of the trash ghosts. Duke Baradin himself shows up into the fray. Big boss here. This guy was a character in Guild Wars 1, one that we got to know reasonably well. In fact, in Guild Wars 1, we learnt that this guy was going to be the king of Ascalon. He's the rightful heir to the throne, back when the humans were in this land. Anyway, he was going to be that king, but he turned it down for another man who ended up essentially dooming the kingdom in their war against the Charr at the time, 250 years ago. But Baradin's still kicking about, as you can see. He's still pretty dangerous and doing his part. I still wonder why. We never really got confirmation as to why he turned down the throne when he did, but he did, and he let someone else take it. So this is actually a very kind of interesting character, but this is what we're going to see of him in Guild Wars 2. He just becomes this giant thing that we can fight. There was a lot of talk before the game came out about how massive bosses like this, you weren't just going to be hacking at their shins the whole time, and this is kind of what this fight goes into a bit. They fear you away, he fears you away like that, but that's it really. You get 2 targets you can go for, but it doesn't really matter which. That's just what he looks like. I thought I'd move back just so that you guys can see. No other players around here, have you noticed that? That's pretty crazy. I think that's the first time I've seen this, that not a single other player is nearby. And of course, if we were outside the crypt right now, what's going on out there? Well, the gate's shut because they don't want people to just run in right at the end of the Duke Baradin fight and then end up finishing it without having to actually do anything really. So that's what's going on. This is how it's mapped out right now. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. You can go for the ads here if you want. This fight's a lot less complicated than the Logan one, but lasts longer, which I find funny. But yeah, there you go.
Boys and girls, congratulations. Report back to Smokestead.
So we're going to load into the plains of Ashford here. This is essentially the Queensdale for the Charr, another starter area. Of course, starter areas aren't too distinct. Hold on, we'll get this dialogue first.
I heard what you did down in that crypt, soldier. Impressive.
Tribune Brimstone was calling the shots. I just did my job.
Don't sell yourself short. You were part of the team that took down Baradin and stopped the ghost assault. Smokestead is safe now, and you helped make it that way. People are still on edge, though. It'd help if they saw someone like you making the rounds, lending a hand. The quicker we get this place squared away, the sooner the legions can get back to business. You can help. I'd rather have volunteers. But if I have to issue an order, I will.
That won't be necessary, Legionnaire. I hereby volunteer.
So she pretty much just pulls rank on us there, which is quite funny. We get our first reward for the Charr, yay! We get a choice. Since we picked Warhorn for Ranger, why don't we pick Shield for this character here? There we go. That's a bit better. And we've leveled up, so we can equip the Shield. This obviously isn't a weapon that Rangers get as an option for them, but it is for us here. Shield Bash and Shield Stance. But yeah, so this is Smokestead that we're kind of stood at just here. A bit of kind of an interesting place. It's very similar to Shaymore, I suppose, but it's a bit smaller, I guess, and it's not so well defined as a location in and of itself. So there's that, but it exists as a part of the greater plains of Ashford, which, as I was about to say, is essentially the Queensdale for Charr characters. But starter areas like that, you shouldn't really think of areas, oh, this is a starter area, this isn't a starter area, and so forth, because honestly, with the scaling back down, it doesn't come into it. You will find that in some of these areas like this in particular, you will seriously pack a punch and do a lot of damage when you're like at end game and you come back down, but really it's all still viable to play in, so you don't get too caught up in thinking that, oh, this is just a starter area, so we'll never have to come back here. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff to see. In particular, you will have noticed this massive structure off in the distance. This is the Great Northern Wall, which I guess I'll talk about next time. There's so much to say about Ascalon. But yeah, that's a bit of an introduction to the Charr. The lands are just incredible. You get kind of these very nice rolling hills and stuff that were so scenic in the first game, and then it's just marred, if you will, by just these huge, massive mechanical cogs and chains and stuff that the Charr have been using, and it's just brilliant. It really, really is. I love everything about Ascalon and Guild Wars 2. I think it's so good, especially how recognizable it is from the first game, despite looking so different. Look at these things. So yeah, we'll learn a bit more about the legions, we'll learn a bit more about our legion, and continue on with the personal story for the Charr stuff next time. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Come on, Chaos, wave for us. Here we go. Oh yeah, their naming conventions, they're very Roman, by the way, which is why I've called him Chaos, but more on that later. More on that next time.